If you're watching this video, you're probably planning on taking the ACT test soon and you want to be prepared, which is great. This video is going to give you an overview of the ACT test and 10 quick tips to help you prepare. Now, I don't know if you're going to be doing your test on paper or if you're going to be doing your test on a computer. Either way, the test is set up exactly the same. There are some different elements in helping you study and prepare, but with that said, overall, the test is exactly the same. The test is comprised of 4 or 5 sections if you choose to do the writing portion of the test. We're going to be focused on the 4 sections of the test that make up your composite ACT score. The way that the test works is you always have English first, math second, then reading third, and science fourth. So you'll be taking the English and math sections first with a 15-minute break in the middle, and then the reading and science sections at the end. The English and math sections that go first, both are very similar in the skills that you need to learn before you go into the test. Both of those tests are longer also. After that 15-minute break, the reading and science sections of the test, you don't need to go into that test with any previous information. You don't need to know any formulas. You just need to focus on the information that's in front of you. We're going to talk about each one of those sections of the test in future videos. Today we're going to talk a little bit about timing and 10 tips to help you get started. 2 of the tips are for before the test starts. Tip number 1, read. You should be reading every single day. Your English teachers have been telling you for years that they want you to read at home, and we hope you've been doing so, but if you haven't, you can at least start now. You should be reading magazine articles and newspaper articles. You can read books, but make an effort to read every single day. It trains your mind to be able to read quickly, which speed is a major factor of the test, and to be able to retain information. Especially in the reading and science sections of the test, reading is an important part of getting through those tests in time. So tip number 1, starting today, this moment, get a book, get a newspaper, get a magazine, get something at a higher level than what you're usually reading, and read every single day. Tip 2. Some of you might have taken the test already. I know my students at Granger High School, many of them have taken practice tests and pre-tests. One of the major things that people don't think about doing that's a huge hint to help you do well in the test is to order old tests that you completed. It costs about $16, but if you contact ACT, they will send you a copy of your test and the questions that you got right and wrong. When you go through those questions, it's important to look at what you did wrong, of course, and understanding why you were thinking what you were thinking and why you got it wrong. But it's also important to look through the questions that you got right to build that foundation of what you already know so that you're firm in your understanding of the concepts and skills that these tests require. And it's important that you're looking at official ACT tests. There are lots of companies out there who will give you practice tests, but they're not created by the exact same company. So I would find things like this, or going onto their website. They offer a lot of free examples of tests there. With that, you want to know what the directions are on each portion of the test before you take the test. So you're not wasting any time reading this directions section when you should be jumping right into the test, already knowing what the directions and the time limits are. So on the day that you're going to be taking the ACT test, I have 4 tips for you. One of them seems simple, that doesn't have anything to do with the test, but it does. Tip number 3 is eat breakfast that day. I don't know why, but for most people, having your stomach full of food helps your brain process and stay alert and awake and gets that sugar moving through your body. So eat a good breakfast and get a good night's sleep before. If you have trouble getting a good night's sleep because you're anxious, maybe take a little bit of melatonin to help your body relax and sleep. Now this one's really important, especially if you're going to be doing a paper test. You want to wear a watch. Some kind of digital watch that gives you the time. Now, you've got to make sure that it's not an iWatch or something with data that will take that away from you. But you want to make sure that you're able to manage your time as you go. Know that time is a huge factor on this test, especially in the reading and science sections. A lot of students don't finish the reading portion in time. And it's important to manage your time so that you focus your attention on the sections that you know you can accomplish the fastest and the best. Tip number 5, while you're taking the test, answer every single question. Some people think that if you guess that you're going to be getting minus points from the test, and that's not true at all. The way that the ACT test is scored is they look for correct answers. And so it's better that you make a guess than to leave it blank. Every time you take an ACT test, a test proctor will tell you when you have 5 minutes left on the test. And when they announce 5 minutes left, At that point, you should be answering questions as quickly as possible, just boom, 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 to get to the end of the test. You don't want to leave any questions unanswered. Tip number 6 goes well with tip number 5. If you're going to be guessing, it's important that you know where you guessed. So if you have time at the end, to come back and look to see where you left off. So my suggestion is to make sure that you pick the same column, which seems kind of weird. But if you shotgun guess, if you guess A and then D and then C and then B and then F and then G and all of those random things, you're more likely to get them wrong. My name starts with a C, so I usually guess C's and H's on questions that I don't know to keep it consistent throughout. As weird as it sounds, you're more likely to get them right if you're consistent even in guessing. That way you can come back and look easily for the questions that you've had to skip because they're in the same column. Now the next 4 tips, 7 through 10, have to do with specific tests. We will go far more in detail with each one of those sections in future videos, but know that these are great overall suggestions to help you do well in the test. Tip number 7 is for the English section of the test, which is my favorite section of the test, so I love that that section's first. English is testing you on your grammar, your punctuation, and your writing skills. One misconception that students have is to think that more writing is better writing, and that is not at all the case. Better writing is concise and clear. You can use great descriptions, but you don't want to repeat yourself over and over again, and you don't want to use words or phrases that are unnecessary. So my tip for the English section of the test is look for the answers that are concise or short. We call that the KISS rule. KISS, which is an acronym for Keep It Simple, Stupid, and the stupid part's important. If you're using lots of words that don't mean anything, then you're being stupid. Look for the responses that are short. Oftentimes, those are right. Tip number 8 is for math. Now, I'm terrible at math, but at the same time, I think this tip is really helpful. A lot of people don't think about the fact that you can use the answer options to plug into the questions to figure out what the right answer is. Don't forget, those are available to you also. So sometimes you might be able to do the problem and do it quickly, but you might want to take those answer options and plug them in and see what works the best. It might save you some time. To do well on the English and math section, you're going to want to study English and math rules, punctuation and grammar, what good writing looks like. With math, you're going to want to study formulas and algebra and the things that your teachers have been trying to teach. But with reading and science, you don't have to go into those tests knowing anything at all. For reading, you don't have to have a huge list of vocabulary in your brain. And for science, you don't have to know anything specific from before the test. For reading and science, all of your answers are right in front of you. And that's why practicing reading is so important. My tip number 9 for the reading test is for you to know before you go into the test how quickly you read. I want you to look at some practice tests. Time yourself for 3 minutes and think, can I read this single passage in the 3 minutes that it takes? If you read a little bit more than 3 minutes or a little bit less than 3 minutes, great. But also pay attention to how much information have I retained in this quick 3 minutes of reading. So tip number 9 is about going into the reading test knowing whether or not you're going to have time to read the entire passage quickly, or if you're going to want to do a first sweep read, which we'll talk about in future videos. With reading, time management is one of the most important factors. And my last tip for tip number 10 is for science, but it would also work for reading if you're doing the test on paper. And that is to use your fingers. Sometimes we waste a lot of time scrolling back through the passage or looking at the graph quickly to try to find what it was that we were looking at. If you physically put your finger on the computer screen or on the paper in front of you when you find something, and then look for the question and put your finger there too, use that as a physical placeholder. It will make your eyes more efficient in quickly tracking what you need to know. So those are my 10 tips to help you get started on the ACT test. 1, before you start the test, read. Every single day, start today. 2, order past tests and practice tests and look at these. It's one of the best ways to practice for the ACT test. 3, eat breakfast. That's simple. Grab some Cheerios, throw them in the mouth, get some milk, get some juice, and then get going. 4, wear a watch. Any watch. It can be SpongeBob SquarePants. Nobody's gonna care. Make sure you have a digital watch to help you manage time. 5, answer every single question. And 6, when you do guess questions, guess the same column all the way through. It will help you look back and find what you might have missed, but also, as weird as it sounds, you're more likely to get them right than shotgunning something random. 7, with English, be concise. Keep it simple, stupid. 8, for math, Look at the question options, and if you need to, plug those in and see if they work. 9, reading. Know what you're capable of reading and doing before that test starts. And 10, science and reading. Use your fingers. Make sure that you are marking with your fingers physically where you need to be in the test so your eyes can be more efficient looking at information back and forth. So you got this, and you're already a step ahead just because you're watching this video. So obviously you care. That's it for some basic information to help you get started on the ACT test. We're going to focus on each section of the test. So hit subscribe so you can come back and watch more videos to help you prepare for the ACT test. Bye!